Aloha, what is up everybody? I'm Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I'm back for, once again, of course, being the Maxi Toys videos. And yes, welcome back to more Let's Play of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles being a Sega Mega Drive for Sega Genesis from the likes of Knuckles' story. So, last time we actually did manage to explore Ice Cap Zone and Launch Base Zone, in this case the last zones in Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And today for this episode we're about to be returning back to Mushroom Hill Zone, but this time with Knuckles the Echidna. But first things first, special stage. So there's our first Super Emerald has been obtained, and obviously, much like how it does it for the regular special stages in Sonic 3, I decided to actually cut those special stages off yet again, because obviously the layout is going to be exactly the same, so even then, there's nothing remarkably different about it. However, the only major difference between I managed to realize, and all of you some people did not even know, is the fact that I'm actually going to be, collecting all these Super Emeralds in that different order, because I usually did done the correct spawning number order, and for the likes of the Sonic's playthrough of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. I think I'm actually decided to do it a little bit differently this time around for Knuckles, because obviously I might actually go through special stages from Sonic and Knuckles to the hardest to easiest, so even then, that's how I'm not going to do that method, because obviously I've already done the correct spawning order, like easiest to the hardest special stages department for, you know, in Sonic's playthrough out of the way, so I think I'm actually do the opposite. So even then, nothing else to talk about, so even then, there's not much else to say. Now, as far as the collecting those Super Emeralds, as far as this is concerned, that I will hopefully try my best if I was going to be getting all these 7 Super Emeralds in this one particular zone, unlike in Sonic's playthrough on that game, in Sonic 3 and Knuckles though anyway. Hopefully I might do my best if I can. 2 Super Emeralds down and only 5 more to go, so even then though, we're pretty much breezing for those collective funds of these Super Emeralds really fast. Especially when I managed to realize I pretty much know exactly what the locations are going to be. So even then though, that we will eventually get these 4 Super Emeralds in this first act, and then the last 3 for the, well, for the second act. So even then, I should be able to actually just accomplish that as soon as I do so. So, anywho, and I believe the next special stage is going to be all the way over there. I did not mean to bypass it. Alright, 3 Super Emeralds, only 4 more to go, so even though that is going really fast and quick as far as, you know, I'm done with these special stages. In fact, I think the majority of this particular part is going really fast, especially like if I managed to cut those special stages up, because even then though, that, again, the layout is going to be exactly the same thing as from Sonic and Tails version, so, you know, you get the idea. So, yeah, I realized right off the bat though, is that, oh yeah, before I get into this actually, there's another special stage just on ahead. 4 Super Emeralds and only 3 more to go, so even then though, we've pretty much gone through all the Super Emeralds grab-a-thon type of syndrome in Act 1, so we'll grab the rest in Act 2, so I can definitely guarantee it's definitely 100% guaranteed by doing so, But before we get into the actual boss on Mushroom Hill Zone as Knuckles, we're obviously going ahead and just get ourselves a little bit of a freebie item, like, you know, occasional rings, flamethrowers, or in this case, no, not flamethrowers, the flame shield, I should say, and occasional help items, which actually builds up a, you know, the spring block and all that kinds of stuff, and, you know, chemisphere and all that stuff, and I've got ourselves yet another extra 1-up, which at this point I only got about 18 1-ups, so not that bad. Alright, so, yeah, for this boss battle anyway, it's nothing remarkably different from Sonic and Tails' counterpart than the likes of Knuckles' version, although practically it's more likely exactly the same thing, minus what the logs chopping skills is actually a little bit more different than what I've noticed, I think. But even then, that's all I can really think about for that boss battle in general. And I was off by 2 rings by getting that another extra life, which I was pretty darn close about it. Anyways, now we move on to Act 2 of Mushroom Hill Zone, so I'm hoping I can get myself the last 2 Super Emeralds, or the last 3 Super Emeralds on that particular act, so that probably should be able to happen, so, yeah, right off the bat though, we don't usually get blown off by this little, random, switch, lifter right there, which usually Knuckles usually done that before for Sonic and Tails, but this time that Knuckles usually busts through this little block, so that means we can now actually enter these other routes throughout Knuckles' playthrough style, so even then though, there's not much I can talk through here. Although conveniently enough though, is that what I've actually noticed about in Act 1 of Mushroom Hill Zone as Knuckles, that in the beginning part of his campaign was actually a little bit more different compared to Sonic and Tails' version. You know in Sonic and Tails playthrough on the Mushroom Hill Zone Act 1, that usually when Sonic and Tails usually flies all the way towards it. However though, for Knuckles' playthrough, that obviously if you couldn't tell, that Knuckles usually falls down after the events of when the explosion is happening on during the Launch Base Zone Act 2. You know, the one with the egg robot usually delivers the bomb. And speaking of such though, I'd like to discuss about if you're actually going to be if you have a first time playing as Knuckles in Sonic and Knuckles, although I'll get into more details on that later, so I'll meet you guys there. Alright, 5 Super Emeralds and only 2 more to go, so we pretty much at the halfway point something, or anything else, I don't know. Sorry for a bit of a lack of dialogue here, folks. There's just not much else, you know, to say about this. But besides the fact that we actually got ourselves 2 Super Emeralds left, so even then though, I think we actually pretty much in the halfway point of getting those Super Emeralds, basically, or something like that. So, yeah, a few things I want to mention is the fact that, just to let you all know at this point, folks, you know, originally I was going to go able to actually upload this during the 2nd of May or something like that. But I will discuss more of that details until we actually get into the next zone, which was the Flying Battery Zone. However, though, that's oh yeah, before we get into this, actually, there's going to be another special stage weighing ring. If you actually bust through this little blocks right over there, so that means we can now actually go down here, and then not getting launched by the yellow spring, but if you go onto this little hidden alcove, and there you go. Alright, 1 more Super Emerald, and then that way we should be able to actually get ourselves our Hyper Transformation as Knuckles. So even then though, in case if you probably can tell for a spoiler alert for when I usually did mention this out loud. So anyways, we can now actually enter this part of the area where we have to basically dodge a lot of spikes onto those walls. While doing so, you can actually just carefully time your gliding and whatnot so you actually don't get hit by these spikes. Obviously, if you get hit by spikes, you get knocked back a curve. And I wonder if I was being curious, I might actually try and get my invincibility box, which, sure enough, I instantly managed to get one, so... Anyway, so let's climb up the wall here, and I believe, good thing for me, though, actually, is that I managed to actually realize is that the last special stage ring I'm about to be getting, it was actually nearly towards the end of the level, so even then, pretty good news indeed. And also not to mention that I think I actually did manage to save the last special stage, or the easier special stage for last. Because obviously, I already mentioned this before, I was going to be doing this in the complete opposite when it comes to difficulty for special stages department, so that's what I figured. So, anywho, let's go ahead and spin down here, and head onto this hidden alcove, and I'll meet you guys until I get towards it. Alright, here we go, folks. After when you get all 7 of these Super Emeralds, much like Hypersonic for Sonic, and also Super Tails for Tails, then if you get all 7 of these Super Emeralds, you can now finally obtain to have the ability to become Hyper Knuckles. Which is, to me, is more likely equivalent to Super Knuckles to me, although we'll discuss more to that particular Hyper Knuckles until we actually get into later until the next zone. Because not right now though, because unfortunately I lost all my rings because I accidentally got hit by this little centipede enemy, which is kind of a little bit disorientating at point. But anyway, there's actually another secret I'd like to actually show you guys about something, is that if you hang on to the left side of this little push-up little contraption thing right here, as you can probably tell on screen, now if you hop onto the one on the left, if you're constantly pressing up and down and stuff like that, then you should be able to actually clarify that you're able to come across into not only 7 rings, but also electric shield and a flame shield, which... For this point, I'm going to be using the Flame Shield because obviously the next boss battle we're about to be talking through, and now see the form of this little aircraft-looking egg robo contraption. So even then, that these little fire boosters will never hurt you, or in this case harm you, if you actually have yourselves a Flame Shield. So yeah, that's really handy. The only things you need to worry about this time around is that they actually spewed on the 2 different spike balls into one of these places or another. Or occasionally they actually put in just only 1 spike balls onto this little around the fences and all that kinds of stuff. I think that's the only major difference, so it makes it a little bit more harder compared to how it does it for Sonic and Tails version. So there we go, that concludes Mushroom Hill Zone. So now we move on to Flying Battery Zone, so aka my favorite zone in Sonic and Knuckles, or for more accurate, my favorite zone in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, as a matter of fact, because obviously Sonic Mania might actually bring that zone to make a comeback. which I'm really glad about that, to make ourselves a little bit more crisp and also HD makeovers, even though I'm really excited about that. So still no sign of the release date or the final release date of Sonic Mania though, although I was more concerned it was actually going to be delayed until September, which I have to wait for a long time, don't I? So anyway, a few things I want to mention is the fact that recently I managed to got myself not only one, but two new 3DS Virtual Console downloadable games, specifically on the Game Boy Color, which is the form of, you know when I recently managed to, I believe Knuckles actually did manage to likely show you guys the Game Boy series collection not too while ago, and then basically he actually did show you the actual Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games that we actually recently got. And basically that we actually got ourselves even more Game Boy Color games, which are both, naturally, Zelda games, which are both The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons and The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages, which I think already said Seasons and Ages. So, yeah, they're both gameplay aspectly, it's more likely exactly the same thing as wonderful to each other, but the only major difference is that I believe they'll actually bring out a different mechanic or something like that, so even then I haven't really tested it out yet, but I will one day as soon as I actually try to complete every single Zelda game as much as possible. There are some exceptions that I might actually miss out from, it's both The Legend of Zelda A Link to the Past for the Game Boy Advance, because obviously it's more likely the SNES game, but on a portable device. And also, Full Swords Adventures, which I don't think I might not get it, because it might be a little bit expensive every now and then. I think that's what I'm really going to be saying for this part, so, anywho. But yeah, I might be really excited to actually try out The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, or on the 3DS Virtual Console re-release version. So yeah, at least I'm really glad that I managed to got those now. So, yeah, another thing worth mentioning though is the fact that I've heard from a lot of rumors about there's going to be yet another upcoming game for Nintendo 3DS, which was specifically for Mario, because originally that Mario Sports Superstars was supposed to be the last game to be released on the Nintendo 3DS library from Mario department, but it turns out the 3DS wasn't exactly done yet. Well, at least until when it gets to 2018 or something like that, or maybe during at the very end of 2017, I'm not exactly 100% sure. But even then though, there's going to be the new game we're about to be coming, specifically on Mario & Luigi game, but it's not going to be a proper direct sequel or something like that, because I believe it might actually bring out a remake game or something like that this time around. Which, you remember the game called Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, right? Originally released on the Game Boy Advance. Now, I think they might actually try to make a rumor about how in the world did that switch just usually become a glitch sprite. I have no idea how that happened right there. But anyway, so they're trying to make a 3DS version of Super Mario, or not Super Mario, Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga DX, but it's not just called it Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, it just calls it Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga plus Bowser's Millions, which that might be seems a little bit more likely a mishmash type of combination name. But even then though, I'll never know until when I think they might actually try to rumor that until E3 this year so far. Although granted though, we haven't exactly got that long to begin with, so even then I'm mostly excited. Oh no! What? Okay, I have no idea what this is happening right there. Did I somehow manage to clip for the floor? Oh my god. How can I get out of this? I'm pretty sure, okay. Oh, don't freak me out there, game. You're almost trying to make me stuck into the abyss or something like that. Even so much so, whenever I managed to watch myself, the playthrough of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles in the Super Gaming Brothers, and he, specifically on Sonic's playthrough on that game, which usually takes place in Lava Reef Zone, they managed to stumble across that clip of the floor glitch, which I almost got freaked out for a moment there, because I almost attempt to get stuck on some spots of the area, so, anywho. So yeah, there's another thing I want to point things out though, is that even then I'm really excited how if the Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga plus Bowser's Millions will be happening until in E3 2017, then I'm really going to be hyping for that game until that comes out on the 3DS. even though it's more likely, I believe it's going to be, it feels more likely it's going to be exactly the same game as some of so to the Game Boy Advance version, but except with new content and all that stuff, and I believe it might actually bring exactly the same models as the Mario Luigi Dream Team or Paper Jam Brothers or something like that. Again, I'm not exactly 100% sure about this yet, but even though we'll never know until when E3 2017 was coming by. So, but hey, as long as we actually don't have long enough until when E3 2017 press conference is about to be approaching, so we're pretty much at the on a corner ahead. So even then, that's all I was to say. So yeah, let's talk about the uploading schedule for this particular part of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. Basically, originally I was supposed to upload this during yesterday, which is the form of the 2nd of May. However, though, I seem to manage to got the recording sessions pretty okay, and as well as the commentary is a little bit too much of a mixed bag, while the quality itself is pretty amazing for the most part still, and no lackingness involved in that this time around, which is a huge plus. And also that that's what I can usually just think about. Unfortunately, for some stupid reason, whenever I was trying to save up for my movie account and all that stuff, sometimes my programming, especially the video editing program, just constantly crashes all the time, which is a little bit too distracting for my knowledge. Ah, god dang it! I'll meet you back. Alright, meet you back onto that little section right here, the one I did manage to die from before. So, hopefully though that my video editing program does not able to crash again, which I was really hoping so. But even then, that really ticks me off the most every time when I was trying to finish up the recording segments on that microphone test recording, which every time when it does that, especially if it consists of, like, for instance, for example, on the HD quality of those specific games, most likely Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, as you probably guys should know, that a lot of times if I actually if I did manage to successfully done that little test, then for some strange reason it constantly crashes and it just kicks me out of the menu, which is not that pleasing to me though. But anyway. So yeah, that's all I can really think about that. Since today was actually the 3rd of May, so even then, that release date of specifically the continuation on this particular game is going to be a little bit of a delay. But hopefully we're actually going to be completing this game until either tomorrow or the next day onwards, which I think I should say that I think I'm actually get this game done until tomorrow, because obviously we got ourselves Sonic Heroes on its way until this month. So even then, I'm really excited about this, even though it's not me who's going to be doing it, it's just someone else who's going to be doing it. So I'm really hoping if that was the 2nd time I got crushed onto this little roulette staircase type of platform. Seriously, they do remind me of staircase, of this little spiral staircase on these specific hotels, which still, it does remind me of those. So anyway, then again, there's not much else to say about this point, ladies and gentlemen, besides the fact that I've now finally managed to obtain myself the Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages. I'm not sure which one I'm actually going to tackle through first, because it's more likely somewhat of a similar type as from the other Pokemon games for the Game Boy series games, most likely in the first generation of Pokemon in the original Game Boy, specifically the original Game Boy. What they did there is they did manage to make 3 different versions on that Pokemon Generation 1 game, which was blue, red, and yellow most likely, excluding green, but only in Japan. But even then, they managed to actually try to alternate the Pokemon a little bit for between those 4 versions, excluding the green version for the Japanese version. I was thinking it might actually do the exact same thing as from Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of, do I say Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons? So, yeah, I think that's what I was going to be thinking of at the time. So, yeah, that's all I could really think about this at this point in time, folks. And even then, yeah, not much to say. So, now, the reason why that I managed to actually realize is that recently I managed to watch myself, the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Season 7 so far, that I believe in the last couple of days ago, I managed to recently saw both Episode 4 and Episode 5 all in one day. Now I say Episode 5 most likely during the last couple of days, is the fact that, well, obviously, Discovery Family was able to actually just only do 1 episode at a time, However, there's actually another way they can actually watch another episode earlier on, and that was the form of the likes of this little calendar version, which is more like a common, kind of a cool thing to actually realize is that after I watch the episode of Discovery Family, and I can pretty much watch the other one before that on the during the Canada TV channel, which sure enough is still on YouTube so far. So I'm really hoping if the copyright doesn't get blocked or anything like that, because I felt incredibly bad when I usually just miss that out on at least at the very first quite a few hours on the first episode, and especially the second episode of season 7, because again, copyright issues is still a claims, so that's a little bit of a downside for my part. So anywho, speaking of such though, is that the My Little Pony the movie is no longer going to be forget what I said. Sorry about that, folks. It's just basically, it's not much else I can really say about this point, folks. It's just basically, it's not much else, you know, to say about this. Besides that, we actually got ourselves 5 more months to go until when the My Little Pony the movie. I almost said Frozen was magic for some reason. So anyways, here's the egg robo's been burst, and he's running away! So yeah, before we actually chase after him though, then we can actually just, you know, get back onto this, the exact same bonus stage all over again, but even then we'll get even more rings, so yeah, you know the egg robot that usually appears in you know, the Mushroom Hill Zone, and especially for the likes of Flying Battery Zone Act 2 most likely, onto this little laser room section. However though, there's nothing more to it than that, because I believe that as soon as we actually get into the actual boss battle of the Flying Battery Zone Act 2 most likely, that you'll see why in just a second. So even then, for first things first, that I'm actually just trying to actually get out of this bonus stage right now, because I think that we're pretty much almost done with Flying Battery Zone, I think, so I need to get 2 more rings before I actually become Hyper Knuckles. Oh yeah, by the way, I haven't really briefly mentioned about Hyper Knuckles, especially / Super Knuckles in this particular playthrough so far, because again, I've really talked about quite a lot of different things about this recently, so I think it's about time for me. Actually, I think I'm actually talking a lot more on that until more details on that as soon as we get to the one of my least favorite zones in the game, which is the form of obviously what do I recall? Yeah, Sandopolis Zone. And basically, I'm actually just discussing about the Hyper Knuckles / Super Knuckles. So, anyway, now we end up in the next boss battle right there, which is the likes of the Hangmobile. Now, Hangmobile is actually a little bit more tougher than the likes of Sonic and Tails counterpart. Is that, as you can tell, that the flamethrowers are constantly spewing out, unlike how it does it one at a time. How in the world did that hit me as soon as I defeated him? That's a little bit unfair. For Robotnik though, anyway. In fact, this is the only time you'll be seeing Robotnik on this particular Knuckles' campaign, because usually speaking of such though, is that majority of the Knuckles' foe is definitely the likes of Egg Robo, but this is the only time you see Robotnik in action in Knuckles' story, which is a little bit odd. But anyway though. And now we move on to Sandopolis Zone Act 1, and even then, that's not much else I can really say about this, so again, nothing remarkably different about it for Knuckles' version of this particular stage, besides the fact that we can now occasionally now actually bust through these little little sparkly blocks type of stuff. So yeah, that's all I can really say about this here. So yeah. So another thing I need to point things out though is the fact I'm not sure what I think about this at this one point or another, but even then, that recently I managed to realize is the fact that we pretty much, you know, almost done with the actual 2D Sonic retrospective wise, because obviously, although there's technically another one which is usually called Sonic the Hedgehog Pocket Adventure for Neo Geo Pocket Color, but even then, I need to actually find my way in order to actually just to record that particular game on that. I know most commonly it's more likely an emulator, but even then that I have a lot of struggle with emulators recently, because sometimes it usually lags, sound quality doesn't follow up to the actual the exact same picture imagery, and that's all I can really think about it. So yeah, another thing I'd like to point things out is that recently that I think the other toys have not mentioned about this on during the other stuff in Nintendo Direct lately. So is the fact that there's actually a new 3DS game was about to become on in Europe for a very, very long time naturally, which is called Dr. Kirishima's Devilish Brain Trading. You can stay focused on the Nintendo 3DS. Oh man, it has been so long since whenever they finally managed to release the actual release date on that game, at least in Europe. Well, it usually already came out in Japan, and especially North American version as well. Which, speaking of such though, that I'd like to know what the, who did manage to, what, Brain Age, or in this case the, devilish, well, brain training that managed to came out originally, and, depends on what countries they got in. Well, if I were to recall correctly, it's going to have to be more accurately, Japan actually got it first, and then North American gets it a bit second, and obviously the European goes last, so it's pretty obvious at this one point or another, so... Yeah, which I'm pretty sure that in the Japanese version of, you know, Devilish Brain Training did usually came out in 2012, and then a year later in North America, but until 4 years later, they finally managed to announcing the European's release date on that particular game is going to come until roughly the exact same day as both Hey Pikmin for Nintendo 3DS, and there's also the new Nintendo 2DS XL, so... pretty expected for that little knowledge of these release dates. Oh, alongside with the final three Super Smash Bros. Amiibo lineup, which are both Cloud, Corn, and Bayonetta. So even though I'm really excited about these little final three Amiibos are about to come. So yeah, enough about these news related and all that stuff. So I want to say anything on here. Special stage ring, and now I finally obtained it. So hooray! And I managed to got myself 24 extra 1-ups, so that's quite a lot of extra lives I got at this point, so even then I should be able to be okay with this, as long as we're actually almost nearly towards the end of Knuckles' story, so... Anywho though. So yeah, how it works for Hyper Knuckles, especially Super Knuckles, if you want to actually be more precise on that, they both exactly works very identical between each other. The only noticeable difference between Super Knuckles and Hyper Knuckles, honestly, is the fact that but as soon as that Knuckles managed to realize is that if you manage to climb onto that little, if you manage to get onto the one wall or another, that it actually does like a vibration, or in this case, yeah, the vibration effect. I don't know what that does, but even then I'll need to actually look that up until eventually and onwards, so. And also another thing is that these little, silhouettes of Knuckleses, yeah, you can see those two Knuckleses all around here. It's mostly because it's actually in hyper form, whilst and I believe in Super Knuckles it doesn't have that effect. Although still it doesn't go as ramery as Hypersonic does. But even then that it's more likely just, you know, equivalent to Super Knuckles, so... Except the fact that, although one thing I actually mentioned about this is that if you actually became Hyper Knuckles and Super Knuckles, if you like to be more precise from that, is the fact that he can actually climb walls way faster now. And also I believe that his gliding is also a bit of an improvement as well, which I think that's more likely the case here, so... Yeah, that's why I couldn't really get about this, so... Yeah, not much else to say about this for this particular point and onwards, so yeah, let's go ahead and fight against with that little golem thing again, or for more accurately, I don't know what exactly was his true name of this particular mini fight, but even then, from what I can tell, it's gonna be, okay, it's just the Guardian, so yeah, we're gonna be facing the Guardian again, so yeah, there's not much else to say about this here. Come and play with me, dive in, yeah, you go and kill yourself. So anyways, we're going to have to end things off here, so join me next time when Let's Play Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. In this case, in Knuckles' story, is the fact that we're moving on into Act 2 of Sandopolis, and eventually we're actually going to be finishing his story in due time. So see you guys then. Later, fellas. Open sesame. We're about to go in.